All right, welcome to the Nathaneal podcast. Today we have a special guest, Yannick, a co-founder of Hypefury. Welcome, Yannick.
Hey Nathaniel, how are you, man? Good to be
I'm
here.
doing good. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. It's almost like
Yeah,
the end of the year for me. So next week the summer holidays start, so the kids will be off. So yeah, it's gonna be
right,
interesting
right.
time. Yeah.
That's amazing. But yeah, to anyone who doesn't know you, which I don't think is possible since I'll be posting this in Twitter, Hypefury, Hypefury is a automation tool which is like I've been abusing lately. Like I've just been busy, doing ghostwriting. You'll need to like have a system in place so that you
Yep.
still like show up.
Yep.
I'm curious though, because I did a little bit of research. You actually like before you did Hypefury, you did a lot of businesses, you did a lot of ventures. But when you were a kid, what was your like vision? Did you think already know that you were going to be an entrepreneur, or like how did you end up here?
Yeah, I think like from a pretty young age, I was working when I was 13. I had my first job
Hmm.
when I was 13. So I was always, busy doing things. But I when I yeah, when did I start becoming like an entrepreneur? I know like when I started high school, I built my own computer back then. So
Wow.
that was like 24 years ago, something like that. And
So
so
2000. I wasn't
yeah,
even born.
I I that's funny. I ordered like all the parts, and
Mm.
for like half the cost, I had like a powerhouse of a machine. And then from that day, then all these people were starting to ask me like, I need a new computer, can you buy one for me? And I was like, yeah, but I can build one for you. And then
Yeah.
I took like the margin between what it would normally cost on the market and all the parts I bought, and just started making money from that. And then they hired me, okay, can you now install these programs, and my
Right.
email is not working. And so I was helping all these people with computer stuff. And I think that slowly opened my eyes, like, oh, people are actually paying me quite good money for this. And yeah, that opened my eyes to, okay, what else can I do, Because I was also like, I don't want to spend all my, like, trading all my time for money. I
Yeah.
also wanted to do something that was like, not connected to me as a person. So I started
Mm.
writing online. After
Mm.
I got like my second job, I hated my first job.
Yeah. You
That's
mentioned
that's
that.
yeah, that's when things really got started. Yeah.
Right. So you started off somewhat like a freelancer too, right? You mentioned in your website, you did like website building. Like you said,
Yep.
you do
Yep.
stuff with websites.
I do exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know, like all these things just came to me. I don't know how, but like because people thought I could do something with a computer, they also thought I could do something with a website.
Wow.
And when I was and that was high school as well. I think when I was like 13, 14, I still started building my own websites.
Yeah.
Back then was still MP3s. You had to
Yeah.
download them. They were maybe illegal or not. And so I started making a little bit of money with that. And then, just starting building more and more projects along the way. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
And
more
your
organically.
your job, like how did you? So you mentioned you had your first job.
Yep.
What was your first job?
So I was a management trainee at like a big bank here in the Netherlands, and I hated
Right.
I hated it.
Why? If you don't
Why?
mind me asking.
Well, so it was at the IT department of one
Okay.
of Holland's biggest banks, and it was
Mm.
just so much political crap, and it was just like
I
I
see.
was I was a young guy. I was a 20-year-old, maybe a little bit older. I was just a young guy,
Mm.
and it was not a fit. And I had a like fixed term contract. I had to stay there for 18 months. But after
Man.
after a couple of months, I already knew like this
You were
isn't for
like, yeah,
me.
this this is 18 months.
Yeah,
No
yeah, yeah.
renewal.
And the thing is, so I got actually I got hired by a different company, and the bank hired them, as in me, to work there
All right.
as a management trainee, and they gave me like lots of schooling, training. It was really that part was interesting, but working at the bank was not. And so I had a coach at my employer, which was not literally the bank. And I said to my coach, like, I really don't like it. I wanna leave. Give me something else. I'll do something else at a different company. But they didn't want to do that because they stationed like 10, 15 trainees at that bank, and they was just making good money. They didn't want to, well, how do you say that? They didn't want to lose face by, shifting me somewhere else. But I was like, yeah, I just want to go. And, they didn't allow me to say anything to the bank that I wasn't in my place there. But, after 9 months, I just told them, I said, hey guys, I don't like going here. And they were like, okay, what are you still doing here? And I said, I don't know. And so they called my employer, and then my employer called me and said, what the fuck did you say? And they ended my employment. They sued me for
what a gangster.
For like tuition fee, because they invested a lot of money in me. Not really, but it was more like they put like a penalty for leaving early. That was basically it, because they didn't want to lose face. So I had to pay $15,000 in like tuition fees. I didn't even make that amount of money in the job months I was there. Like my net income was probably about the same. So that was a big waste, but it really opened my, like, within another 6 months, I already like made my money back. I met a couple of guys. We started hosting open source video games, and I got hunted by a great guy who owned a digital marketing agency, and that's when I really started, coming.
Right, and your second job was somewhat like SEO, right?
Yeah. So I was actually like a sales guy at that agency, but I hated doing cold calls and all that stuff. But what I was good at was
marketing.
Marketing, but also like more consultative selling. So we had a couple of customers already, and I just, when in month one we were doing, I don't know, 2-3K a month for that customer, and in after a year we were doing 10 times the amount. So I just looked at, okay, what are we doing? What can we offer them? How can we like really upsell what we're doing? And that I was great at.
Right. So more like upsell more than selling.
Yep.
Right. Upgrade. That makes sense. Just wanted to point out, I just noticed it now. We have the same blue.
Same. Yeah.
I just noticed it. Hypefury, let's go.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, well.
And then that's when you started also, like, I think you mentioned you were building websites and you were already like earning money on the side. Like, what's funny, you mentioned you earned what, €2, something like that.
Yeah. So when I started working at a digital agency, like everybody had a side project. Okay. Well, what am I going to do? And I had just had my banking experience, so I was like very knowledgeable in all things banking. And so I started a website in finance. So, that was my thing. And I just started a website. It was all plain HTML. There wasn't any WordPress back then, or maybe there was, but I didn't know of it. I just started plain HTML and started writing. And then I discovered like AdSense. So I put AdSense on the website, which is basically like Google injecting ads on your website without you having to do anything. And my first income was, I don't know, like €3 or €10 or something in that range, which was literally nothing. But I just thought, well, I've only been doing this now for a month or so. Let's just keep going. And I started new websites, and I think after a few years I was making like 3-4K a month, and and then it was really like I didn't spend as much time on it anymore. I was just making passive income like 3-4K a month. That was awesome. And, and after about 2 years, I quit my job at that digital marketing agency, and then I started freelancing. I started making a lot more money, and then I didn't start websites from scratch anymore. I just bought things that were already making money,
and then making it good.
I didn't have to invest as much time, and I just optimized the websites even more, and it was just a better way for me to make money. That was like. Yeah.
That's very interesting. because it kind of is somewhat similar to what all like people in the X community, Money X community does. Kind of like just starting a side project and then like writing in the void. But what's funny is now when you write on Twitter, people are already seeing it, right? Like there's already traffic. How did it during that time when you were writing on the first website that you made? Do you know how like people would stumble across your website?
Yeah, so I was pretty knowledgeable already about SEO. So
Oh,
I
okay.
knew like link building and just, looking at competitors. What are they ranking for? How can I outrank them? What do I need to do on the page for it to be more valuable than competitors? So
Right.
literally 99% of my traffic was just from Google, literally.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and
You
that's why
did
it was
make
so
a.
passive.
That's amazing.
Right?
You did make a thread about SEO. I saved that. I'm gonna read that later.
Yep.
But right now, would you say that it's much easier for someone like if you were, for example, you time traveled from the past to now, and you would do the same thing? Would you say that you would have been like made more success, or what do you think?
I don't know. Like I would have done the same thing because like back then, like the algorithm wasn't as complicated. It was just
Right.
have a lot of content around one subject. Make sure you have quite a few links from different sources, and that was basically it. And I just used tools to see, okay, where's a lot of competition, where's not a lot of competition, but there's quite a bit of search volume. It was pretty easy back then. And these days, like Google Ads had this amount of space on the page. Right now, they have like this
Yeah.
amount of space. So there's a lot of like zero clicks, as in there's a lot of answers given in Google already. So search traffic has really plummeted since I was doing it 20 years ago. It's just a different ballgame. It's a lot harder to rank. You really need more like a brand in order to rank. So you just can't start a simple website
Yeah.
and cross your fingers and hope you'll make some money. It's a lot harder. Yeah.
Yeah, but right now I think what's great is that we have like avenues like Twitter and LinkedIn where you don't really need to like, I don't know. This is me as a beginner, right? Like I only started doing this like February.
Yep.
But now when you post on Twitter and you post something good and they tap on your profile and then your link is there, you can get traffic to your website.
Yep.
And you can then like upsell them. So would you say that it's much easier now since there's like all these social media platforms with millions of people?
Yeah, I would say it's just different. Great thing about what I did back then was I could just sit down and write, put it online, and see my traffic go up. And it was like more of a passive thing. And so traffic would still go up even if I didn't write for a day. But
Right.
if you want
I
to,
see.
and if you want
It,
to keep growing your audience, if you check out for a week, then
it's gone.
you almost literally need to start over.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I think, it has its ups and downs. Like, luckily there are tools like Hypefury that can help you schedule all your posts, make sure you're there every day
Yeah.
because, that the algo just likes that or people like that. And that's why the algo likes it. But, yeah, it's just a different ballgame. You have to be there every day. Yeah, but like platforms like I feel like Twitter or
Twitter, yeah.
Threads, they have so many people there and so many different niches that it's quite attractive as a young guy who, if you have a little bit of time left in your day, spend a few hours and start building an audience. And it's in the end, after, you do that a couple of months, you can start selling something. I would
Yeah.
say that's an easier game to do right now than to start a website from scratch and make money that way.
Right, right. And now, so you mentioned you were doing freelancing, and then what you did essentially was like buy websites and make them better. What was your first like successful venture that you were like, this is gonna go big?
There weren't like a lot that really went big. As in,
Okay.
they all grew gradually. Almost
Okay.
all of them. Some were failures, but like I also bought e-commerce stores, drop shipping. I did a bunch of things, but there I just knew, because I didn't want to be attached to the business. I tried e-commerce and dropshipping, but that was just, it was too much of a hassle for me. So that was a bad move. I learned that I'm never going to do that ever again unless I have everything automated, even customer support. I don't want to have
Right.
anything
It
to
was
do
too
with it.
much.
It was
It's
too
a lot of
much,
work.
yeah. But otherwise, like it was, I even had like Facebook apps back in the day that could really go viral. I made like a few K on one day, but I had that app already for, I don't know, 1 or 2 years. And then on one day, it literally went viral on Facebook, and I made like 1 or 2K
It
in a
just one
day
day.
or in 48
Wow.
hours just because it blew up. Yeah. So I don't know what happened there, but it just blew up. And so I had a couple of those things where I really had like, almost like one day flies where, they really went viral, and then, they just died. But most of them were just, I spent, I would say about an hour a day, every day, just writing for different websites, and I just saw them grow. And in the end, I made more money with like all my websites than I made with my day job. So yeah, it's
Wow.
just keep
Very
growing.
interesting. So like, it seems that you're not really, because I think that you're not really in it for the money. As you mentioned, like you didn't really want to attach yourself to the business.
Yeah, well, so I went to a private school and I had to pay tuition myself. So I had a decent student loan, not compared to U.S. standards, I would say, but like I owned quite a bit of money. And one of the reasons I started those websites was to pay off my loan. So literally, it didn't land on my bank account. It just
Right. It
landed
went.
in that student loan thing. And just like the first couple of years, I didn't use any of that money. Literally zero. I just paid off my loan. But that meant that with my day job, I had a normal income, and I knew that my student loan was just being paid off, and it didn't feel like I was paying it off, but I just saw the numbers go down. I was like, oh, this is great. And once it was paid off, then I had some real income. I was like, whoa, what do I do with this money? It was
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Did you just see it as like kind of like a game, or how did you see business at that time?
It was definitely also a game, but I was just like, if I just keep going, it's the same as on Twitter, I would say. If you keep going every day, you know that the last man standing is going to have the biggest audience. That's you see people quit every day, and they just they stop growing. It was the same with my websites. It was just like, if I just keep going, it's going to keep growing, and some might die, but I always focused on evergreen content, where I thought, people are going to ask these questions next year and in 10 years as well. So if I just keep this website up to date, I'll be fine.
Right. Right. And so I guess I'm trying to ask, like, what is your, in a way, vision for, I guess, your business or your advocacy as a person?
Yeah, back then it was just pretty simple. I love passive income. I want more freedom, as a lot of people, and I thought this was a great way to do it. Yeah. And after a while, so I quit my job, started freelancing, made a lot of money, bought like interesting cars. I got my like private pilot license. I did a lot of interesting things.
Wow.
Um, but after 6 or 7 years of that, making like a few 100K a year, I was like, well, this is nice, but I wanted to really build something again. I just didn't feel it anymore.
Right.
And then I quit my freelancing career, and I started like my first real business, you could say. And yeah, spent 3 years building that.
Right. Right. And
It's just,
then your story is Sammy made, like, he just wanted a scheduling tool. It seems that there wasn't like a scheduling tool for threads back then. And then he just posted something like, is there any scheduling tool? And then he he just basically like crammed it
yeah,
for one day, and you saw
yeah.
it. Like, how did you think, what was your thought process during that time, seeing this product?
Yeah, so prior to that,
Right.
I spent 3 years on my first startup. I sold my shares, made a bit of money there. But I started freelancing again afterwards, but I still had that feeling like, hey, I want to build something better. And I was on the Indie Hackers forum back then, and I saw Sammy's post
Yeah.
saying, hey, I'm a developer, but I'm looking for a marketer who wants to, help me with the business. I reached out, and we connected, but back then I had no idea about Twitter. Like, I had 600 followers, but I don't know how old my account is, but I didn't understand it. But what I did understand was like the basic concepts of getting
Marketing.
traffic to your website, marketing.
Yeah.
That I understood. So I thought, well, like I have quite a big marketing background. I have 10 years of experience. I can make this work. And so I just thought, well, this is a better way to spend my time. Why? Because we're selling software. It's not connected to anything physical. It's pretty easy. I thought, hey, this is interesting. And I also saw like, okay, if Buffer back then, it was already pretty big, didn't even support threads. I was like, threads on Twitter, of course. I was like, well, then there must be a market. If these incumbents are not like at the edge of what's possible, then there's definitely a market. So
Did you have like, because your marketing background was SEO, CRO, those stuff? Did that contribute to because you mentioned you didn't really use Twitter a lot, but like your prior knowledge, did it translate to Twitter in some way?
Well, not at the beginning. Like I hired a guy, I don't know if you know him, at Lattimore. He really helped me write better for Twitter.
Right.
Like
Okay.
he back then he was actually a former boxer who
became a Twitter guy.
writing on Twitter. Yeah, became a Twitter guy. Funny enough, and just he was great at writing. He was great. So I learned a lot from him. And because you really need to have like good writing skills, and because I hired him for a couple of months, I could like translate my SEO knowledge or my digital marketing knowledge into threads that really got a lot of traction. So that helped me. But like I would say, you first need to know how to write, and then you can start, sharing your knowledge and getting some followers in return as well.
Right. And then during that early stage, what was your marketing strategy for Hypefury during that early stage of development?
Yeah, so I started SEO day one. And so I started mapping out, okay, what are people searching for? What can we rank for like today or tomorrow? And what will take like 6 months before we get there?
Okay.
And I started mapping out the structure of the website, start writing. And so a little bit for short term, a little bit for long term. I expanded on the affiliate program, like we made it really easy to sign up. Experimented a little bit with like PPC ads, but there was like that's really hard to get that to work. But yeah, what I really emphasized on was sharing knowledge for free. And so we have a lot of like lead magnets free. It's like email courses, all for free, just to get people like in our ecosystem. You have to offer something to get people to be interested in Twitter growth or Hypefury, and that's where we really saw a lot of traction.
Right. You mentioned like the most powerful tool, which I do believe you have, is the word of mouth. Because when I came into Twitter, just people just casually mentioned Hypefury to me like I knew it. I'm like, no, I don't know. I don't know it.
Yeah, that's true. So, we built a little bit of our a name for ourselves. Like we were the only real Twitter tool back in the days, and now we have quite a few copycats. But yeah, we are the OG of Twitter tools. Yeah, definitely.
Let's go. And you made a long form. I saw it where you were the only scheduling tool that wasn't banned during a time, like a certain time in X, because X had a problem, right? And then you were the only one who wasn't banned. Can you tell me more about that?
So it was Elon took over April last year or something like that, or a little bit before. And we start hearing rumors in the market that they were going to introduce different API plans. So everybody back then was like basically on a free plan, and you had a little bit of, you know, paid stuff sprinkled over that, but like you weren't paying more than a few K a month for API access. And we started hearing a rumor that, you know, Mr. Elon is going to introduce like a paid plan,
Yeah.
but it's going to cost like a lot of money, as in over 40K a month. And we thought like, whoa, wait a second. It must be like a lower tier plan or something
Yeah.
for us indie hackers who, you know, just give a scheduling tool to a lot of people. Yeah. But no, we started talking to a couple of people who also were in touch with Twitter, and they were like, well, it's going to happen. And so we reached out to Twitter saying, hey, I know what's happening, but we want in.
Yeah.
And so we had a call with them, and they said, well, yeah, it's true. We're going to introduce this. It's going to be, I don't know, in a few weeks already. So, you know, we can continue this conversation if you're ready to pay 42K a month for this. There's no alternative. It's either this or you're done. There weren't really good API vendors at all. It was just, you know, pay up
Or you're gone.
F off. Yeah. And so we were like, okay, well, let's do it. And then we, you know, quickly went into the mode of rolling into the enterprise API plan. And when we had these talks with Twitter, they were like, yeah, you guys are actually one of the few who are doing this.
Yeah,
and
who care about it.
We were like, what do you mean? Like there's this competitor and that competitor and that competitor. And they really gave us a feeling like, no, you're really one of only a couple. And then I knew when the hammer dropped, I don't know, it was somewhere in April. I can't remember the exact date, but we were ready. Like we were enrolling in the enterprise plan. We knew we would continue getting service by Twitter, but our biggest competitors, literally one by one, their access to the Twitter API got, you know, slashed. They were like literally banned because they didn't anticipate this was coming. And so, yeah, that was, you know, I would say a good move on our part. We were just, we were proactively thinking, okay, what do we do? How do we get this up and running? And you know, those other tools, they just thought, yeah, well, they won't just shut us down, will they? But of course they will, because, you know, Twitter is just like Google and all these big conglomerates. They just don't.
They don't care.
No, they don't care. They just do it. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
And now, speaking of X, what do you think is the future of X and Hypefury in terms of like your improvements? What do you expect from X? Things like that.
Yep. And so we learned quite a bit back then. Like, you know, 90% of our customers was Twitter. And we're really trying to diversify that. So we're, you know, focusing on our platforms much more than we were back then. Twitter is still like our most important platform, but we're diversifying. We just enabled a Threads integration. We're going to, you know, enable more integrations. TikTok is coming. We're waiting for app approval there as well. And so what we want to do is we just see that people can make one piece of content and publish that twice.
Multiple times,
meaning multiple times. And we just see a good role for us there. I don't think a lot of, I would say a lot of serious creators are not just on Twitter. They're on LinkedIn, they're on Threads, they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok. And that's where we want to be as well. And we want to make it as easy as possible for serious creators to, you know, be everywhere.
Publish content everywhere.
And not just for Threads it's easy. You create a thread for Twitter and you can simply cross post that to Threads. It's almost like one-on-one. But what we're also doing is you can create like a video from a text tweet. You can post that as a reel to Instagram. And so we're making all these different automations where you can, you know, create one piece of content and create different types of content for different types of platforms. And so that's what we're doubling down on. And more heavily on video. That's also, I think, what's happening on X, on Twitter. Video is just a lot more prominent. There's also a discoverability angle to that. on TikTok, we all know if you create a good piece of content, even with 0 followers, you can blow up. On Twitter, not so much. But with videos, it's going to be different on Twitter. With videos, if you create great videos with not many followers, you can get quite a bit of reach. And so, that's something I think more creators should step into and lean into, and make some more videos.
Yeah, I did notice that more videos get more engagement especially on threads. I like to put videos in between, the thread underneath the threads, because when I do that, it pops off more than when it's just text or photos nowadays. I don't know if it's the algorithm, but it works.
Yeah, we see it as well. Yeah, they want to push video. They want Elon wants to be a competitor to YouTube and TikTok. So yeah.
Right. So people who are watching this, go do some video stuff.
Exactly.
But yeah, I love I just recently saw it, because right now, like, I'm primarily just using the scheduling tool, really, of Hypefury. But now I saw, like, you actually have this way of making a video form of the tweet, and then there's a music. I'm like, whoa, that's cool. Like, I could just like get that and put that into places. So yeah, I'm discovering a lot of Hypefury, and yeah, man, I feel like it's going to be very useful to all creators. But when it comes to challenges, though, like, what do you think will be your challenges moving forward?
Well, I think with every brand, like, Amazon started selling books. We start with Twitter. And so Twitter and Hypefury is very much, how we are known. And I think the biggest challenge for us is to make sure people also think about us when they want to do something on Threads or on TikTok or Instagram. That's going to be hard to go for, because, people just think Twitter and Hypefury, but not Instagram and Hypefury, TikTok and Hypefury. So that's going to take at least a year, I would say, to really, show that we're a great tool for those platforms as well. Yeah, and I think that's our main challenge, more like marketing and awareness. Like, hey, what tools do you consider to use for different platforms? Yeah.
I see. It sounds like a challenge, but I feel like it's very exciting, at least for me personally. Like right now, you're mentioning it, like being able to just post once and then like it publishes everywhere. Very interesting and very exciting too, because I'm trying to get everywhere. But yeah, that was great. Now, I like to ask this from my guests. My last question in all podcasts is, if I could have asked one question from you, what would it have been, and how would you have answered it in your perspective?
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe something about like entrepreneurship, how you can get more people to, become an entrepreneur. I think a lot of people are looking for freedom, want to do what they want to do instead of being like in corporate America, being in the door 8:80 and walking out at 5.
Yeah.
And that could have been a great question, Nathaneal. So next time, please ask that.
No, I mean, now then, like, how would you answer that right now?
Yeah, I was getting to that, and then like answering that, I would say like it's really hard to make those first steps. If I look back at and how my journey, started off, you could say like those computers were the first thing. But I was really interested in the technical stuff back then, and so try and find something that you're passionate about. Maybe your sports, maybe I don't know, something you really enjoy doing, and start creating. Could be a website, could be a Twitter account, could be something, doesn't matter, just for yourself. And so my entrepreneurial journey didn't start off with I want to make money. It started off like, oh, this is interesting. I can assemble my own computer. That was really interesting to me. And I only published that for myself. I only did that for myself. And I think if you find something that you're truly interested in, don't necessarily need to be passionate for it. Like I passion is, I don't know. You don't need to have passion for something. I would say have a great interest to it and become a little bit obsessed by it, and then it's going to be very easy to make money with that.
Yeah, I think just to really quickly put like a big piggyback right on that. That's what I did. I just wrote on Quora for fun. Like I answered questions there, and then I repurposed all my content on Twitter, on X, on LinkedIn, on a Medium, and then suddenly my X blew up, and now I'm like looking at potential ways of monetizing. And yeah, like our path is kind of similar in a way, but I think that's what people should do, or not should, but could do if they're looking for freedom. Just do it for yourself first, and then you can do it for yourself for others.
Yep.
But yeah.
Exactly. Cool.
All right. That's it for Yannick. Thanks for hopping in, Yannick. Everyone, where can they check you out?
Just Google me, Yannick, and Veys, Veys, and you'll find a lot of social profiles. You'll find me as well on Twitter.
Yeah, and definitely check out Hypefury. It's a great way to schedule if you're not using it already. Yep. Thanks for watching.